In the early days, YouTube was like the Wild West of the internet, a digital frontier where anyone could upload just about anything, and the community guidelines were, to put it mildly, loose. Before the algorithms became all-knowing and moderation turned into a global task force, the platform was a bubbling pot of creativity, but also of weirdness, and sometimes genuine horror. Many of us spent countless late-night hours clicking on obscure links, diving into forgotten channels, and stumbling across videos that today would be taken down in minutes. But some of those videos, the most disturbing ones, weren't just removed. They were wiped from digital existence, leaving behind only whispers, urban legends, and the haunting memories of those who saw them. Do you remember any of them? I used to be one of those explorers. I'd stay up all night, diving deep into YouTube's underbelly, searching for something that could send a chill down my spine. It wasn't the obvious ghost clips or the cheap scare compilations that drew me in. I was after the subtle horror, the unexplainable, the kind that slithers into your mind and stays there, slowly eating away at your sanity. And I found it, 7 times, to be exact. 7 videos that once watched could never be unseen. 7 videos that disappeared overnight, as if they had never existed. But I know they did, and maybe you do too. 1. The White Room Experiment. This video surfaced around 2009. It didn't have a proper title, just a random string of letters and numbers. The thumbnail was a still image of a completely white room. No windows, no furniture, just a single metal door in the back. The quality was grainy, like it had been filmed with an old security camera. It opened with a middle-aged man in a gray jumpsuit being escorted into the room by 2 shadowy figures, also in jumpsuits, black ones. The door closed behind them with a sharp metallic click. And then, nothing. For 10 full minutes, the man just stood in the middle of the room, staring directly into the camera. There was no sound, just a low hum in the background. As each minute passed, his expression changed, from curiosity to confusion, from confusion to anxiety, and then to a kind of silent, creeping terror. His eyes began darting around like he was seeing something we couldn't. He started shaking his head, then trembling. By the final seconds, he was curled up on the floor, hands over his ears, screaming silently, mouth wide open, but no sound coming out. The video cut off abruptly. No explanation, no captions. Just the final image of that man, who looked like he had aged decades in 10 minutes, eyes wide open and completely hollow. The video was removed within 24 hours, and any mention of it got scrubbed fast. But that image of a man trapped in his own silent hell stayed with me, still does. 2. The lost broadcast of Candle Cove. This one's a bit more well-known, but the version of the video that popped up on YouTube around 2010 was something else entirely. Candle Cove was supposedly a kids' show from the 1970s that only a handful of people seemed to remember, and even then, their memories were fuzzy and off. The version that made it to YouTube was a low-quality recording of an episode, full of static and washed-out colors. It started out innocent enough, pirate puppets and a little girl named Janice exploring a cave. But as the episode went on, the vibe shifted hard. The puppets' eyes started moving independently, their smiles stretching wider than they should, and the captain's cheerful voice gradually turned into this deep, guttural whisper. At one point, the camera zoomed in on Janice's face. She wasn't acting anymore. She looked frozen in fear, like she wanted to cry but couldn't. Meanwhile, the puppets sang this creepy lullaby about bones and teeth. The climax hit when one of the puppets' skin taker, a literal skeleton wearing a hat, turned to face the camera and said, in a raspy, dragging voice, "Can you see my teeth? They're made from children." Then black screen. The video got pulled fast for being disturbing content not suitable for minors. But by then, the Candle Cove creepypasta had already exploded online. And everyone who saw the original swears it was way worse than any of the remakes. 3. The Smiling Man video. This one supposedly showed up in 2011. It was short, maybe 30 seconds at most. The footage was grainy, filmed at night, and clearly taken by someone walking alone down an empty city street. The person filming never spoke, but the backstory that came with the video explained it all. The guy was heading home late when he spotted someone up ahead, a tall, skinny man dancing. Not normal dancing, something weird. Off. He was swaying in circles under a flickering street lamp, moving like his joints didn't work quite right. And the worst part, the smile. It was too wide, like it stretched all the way across his face. And it never changed. No matter how he moved, that smile stayed locked in place. He kept dancing for a while. Then he started walking toward the camera. Slowly, still smiling. With every step, that grin seemed to stretch even wider. His eyes, which at first looked normal, began to turn black empty, like holes. The person filming freaked out and started running. The footage shook like crazy. And then, just before it cut to black, you saw the smiling man again, this time sprinting. Fast, way too fast. Still smiling, practically right on top of the camera. The last thing you hear is a muffled scream. The story that followed said the guy who filmed it was never seen again. YouTube removed the video for graphic and potentially threatening content. But the image of the smiling man burned itself into the internet's collective mind, and it never really went away. 4. The Obey the Lobster incident. This wasn't just a single video. It was a whole string of weird uploads that started popping up in 2012. Each one was short, low quality, and completely random. You'd get flickering images of distorted faces, creepy forest scenes, strange symbols. Nothing made sense. But they all had one thing in common. A robotic, glitchy voice repeating the same phrase over and over again. At first, it was kind of funny, like some surreal internet joke. But with each new video, the voice got louder, more aggressive. The visuals became more chaotic, more disturbing. Some clips showed people in a trance, staring blankly at the camera while repeating the phrase. Others showed them doing unsettling things. The internet lit up with theories. Some said it was a government mind control experiment. Others thought it was a cult. YouTube started deleting the videos one by one, citing harassment and spam. But for every video they took down, 3 more popped up. Same message, same voice, same lobster. Online communities got obsessed trying to decode the symbols, track the source, figure out what the hell was going on. And then it just stopped. One day, no more uploads. YouTube eventually wiped out most of the remaining clips. But that phrase, "Obey the lobster," still shows up now and then in creepypasta forums. A bizarre, lingering echo from one of the weirdest corners of old-school YouTube. 5. Mariana Mordegard Glesgorv. This one's practically legend at this point. It first surfaced in 2008, and the rumor was that anyone who watched the full video would lose their mind or worse. The actual video was painfully simple. A man supposedly named Mariana Mordegard Glesgorv staring at the camera for the entire clip. But the most disturbing thing? The original video, they said, lasted 2 full minutes, but YouTube only allowed a 20-second version to stay up. Supposedly, the full version contained subliminal messages and sound frequencies that could mess with your head. People online claimed they'd seen it and then couldn't sleep. YouTube eventually took the video down for content promoting self-harm, but the story stuck around, and people still wonder what was really in those missing minutes. 6. The box video. This one started making the rounds in 2013. It looked like footage from a cheap security camera, aimed at a narrow, dimly lit alleyway. Nothing moved, nothing happened, except for one thing: a cardboard box sitting dead center in the frame. For minutes, It just sat there, silent, still. The only sound was the faint buzz of the tape and distant traffic noise. Then, slowly, the box began to shift. At first, just a tiny movement like something inside was adjusting itself. But there were no holes, no openings. The box looked sealed shut. And yet, the movement became more frantic, more violent. The whole thing started shaking, twisting like something or someone inside was desperately trying to break out. And then came the sounds, scratching, muffled groans. Static lines ran across the screen. Suddenly, the box tore open and something shot out of it, so fast that the camera barely caught it. Just a black, shapeless blur that darted out of frame. The final shot was of the box ripped, empty, and still. And then, silence. YouTube removed it shortly after for shocking and disturbing content. No one ever figured out what was inside. Some thought it was an animal. Others were sure it was something far worse. And just like that, it vanished. But if you saw it, you remember. You never forget that kind of wrong. 7. The doll video. This one showed up around 2014. It looked like regular home video footage, a kid playing in her bedroom. Nothing out of the ordinary at first. The little girl, maybe 7 years old, was sitting on the floor talking to her doll. Not just any doll, a porcelain one, old-fashioned, with glass eyes and a painted-on smile. The kind of doll you'd never want in your house unless it came with a priest. At first, it was innocent. The girl spoke to the doll, and it almost sounded like the doll was replying, but in sounds too low or muffled to understand. The camera stayed still. The room felt ... normal, but every few seconds, the doll moved. Just slightly. A tilt of the head, a flick of a finger, a slow blink. Movements so subtle, you might think you imagined them, but they kept happening. The girl didn't seem to notice. She kept playing, talking, giggling, but the doll's movements got more obvious. At one point, it turned its head all the way to face the camera. Its painted smile seemed to stretch just a little wider, and its glass eyes started to glow just faintly, but enough to make your skin crawl. Looked at the doll, then looked directly into the camera. Her face went pale. You could see the fear hit her like a wall. And then the doll laughed. Not a giggle, not a toy sound. A sharp, high-pitched cackle that came from somewhere near the camera, not the doll. The girl screamed, and the video cut to black. YouTube deleted it for content designed to cause fear or anxiety. The girl and the doll were never identified, and no one ever found out who uploaded the video in the first place. But those who watched it, many still dream of glass eyes, and that awful laugh.